Hey, Vanessa, welcome back. What a crazy night. What a crazy night. Hey, Jonna, thank you for coming back in. Hey, Whiff. Yeah, it's a crazy night. I've never had that happen before. Man, talk about trying to stifle voices. That's crazy. That's crazy. You are here. Thank you. Thank you, Garage. Yeah, guys, let's give everybody a chance to come into the YouTube. I know we'll have a lot of people that come over and join us from TikTok. Yeah, Christopher, they're not happy at all. They're not happy at all. Um, we're working with a new group that is, they've experienced some success on TikTok. So I'm hoping that we can get a little bit of change over there. I don't know. I don't know. They haven't been treating us very kindly here recently. So, but we're not going to stop. We're going to keep talking about these things. I'll jump right into it again, guys, as soon as we get everyone back in here. What I was talking about before we ended, I was basically telling you about a new report that came out that has kind of identified specifically the number of hospitals state by state that are in danger of immediately closing over the next few months to a year. This new report has come out and it's really, really ugly. It's really, 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 really ugly. So we're going to be talking about that. Let's just give everybody a chance to get back in here again, and we'll get started again. So I hope you guys are all having a great day. And wow, I hope that doesn't happen here. I hope they don't cut our sound. So yeah, they're great. I mean, I've heard some people here that have tried these CSAs, and some of them work really well. Some of them struggle a little bit due to funding, so they have a little bit of a problem keeping them going. But the ones that do really well, that kind of figure out the marketing success behind it, they do really, really well. Yeah, we will, Benny. We're not going to stop. We'll get it figured out over there. We'll get it figured out over there. I was really critical of them, and I sent some tough emails to them. And my understanding is they just do everything through AI. So maybe some of this is just pre-programmed. I don't know. And we'll keep going. Zeppo, I will jump in, but I'm going to give a couple of people time to join because I've got a lot of people messaging me saying, give me just a second. We were up to about 75 on here. So I'm going to give it just about one more minute, and then I'm going to jump in. Anyway, guys, where we ended off, let me just kind of do a little bit of rehash here since we're starting the live over again. The bottom line is this new report that came out, there's just been a lot of talk around how is this going to impact rural hospitals. And, really everybody's just been kind of shooting from the hip. They've been talking about it from a really generic 30,000 foot viewpoint. Well, this new report has come out. And what they did in this report is they took a look at the amount of funding that these hospitals on this list are getting from Medicaid. And they looked at what is the bottom line dollar impact going to be on these hospitals as a direct result of losing Medicaid. And these are the hospitals that they calculated to be most at risk. And there are 338 of them. Now, you guys know, because you have followed me for a while, that before these cuts went into place, that before the cuts from the OBBA went into place, we already had over 700 rural hospitals in this country that were in danger of closing. So this list includes a lot of those hospitals, but now we know, because of the passage of the OBBA, that there's a chance here that we'll see a doubling or maybe even a tripling of that 700 number. So in my state, in the state of Missouri, we have got 4 rural hospitals that are in danger of closing right now, but we've got 64 rural hospitals that are going to be seriously negatively impacted. Even one of the best rural hospitals in the state of Missouri, which is the hospital in the little town that I grew up in Bolivar, Missouri, they're basically a break-even rural hospital. They built this hospital in the community. They passed the mechanisms through legislation in the city to build this hospital back in the 80s because they wanted rural hospital service. So they're not in it to make a huge profit. They're kind of a break-even rural hospital. Well, they're going to lose $3 million a year in Medicaid funding as a result of these cuts. And they've got to find that somewhere. They've got to find that $3 million in funding somewhere. So what the federal government is pushing back on them, they're asking them to come back. They're asking them to come back and find that funding inside their own individual state. And I'm going to talk to you about how that's going to be impossible in just a little bit here. But I think it's important we understand the human ramifications of these cuts. And I know I go back to it a lot, but I want to talk to you about the human side of what these rural hospitals going away mean. I talked to you guys a lot about the farm accident that I had when I was 12 years old here in Southwest Missouri. On Good Friday in 1980, I was out digging post holes with my grandfather on our cattle farm, and I got this arm, my left arm, caught in the power takeoff of the tractor that we were using to dig those post holes. And it almost ripped it off. And the bottom line is, I laid out there on the ground for an hour and 50 minutes. Now, I see all the time, like we've already have a nurse that's come in here tonight, and the bottom line is the golden hour, how quickly you receive treatment when you've had a major accident, whether it's an automobile accident or you've been hurt on a family farm, whatever it might be. The faster you get to good health care, the more likely it is that your life is going to be saved. Secondary to that, the more likely it is that they're going to be able to save that limb that's been damaged, and be able to repair your body, your broken body, so that you can still function as a viable member and contributor of the farm when you get back to the farm. But I laid out there for an hour and 50 minutes. And I tell you guys all the time that as a direct result of rural hospitals, if that same accident happened in the same place that it did before, I'd be in the hospital within 36 minutes. So the human ramifications, it's easy to talk about numbers. We can be disgusted by the numbers that we've now got 338 hospitals in danger of immediate closure. That can disgust us. It can cause us to raise our eyebrows. We can be upset about it. But when you're talking to other people about it, for those of you that are in the back 40, when you're out there talking to other people about it, we need to relate those numbers to the human experience of not getting that health care. I can tell you that even as a kid, when I was laying out there in that barnyard waiting on that ambulance to show up, even at the age of 12 years old, I had a very clear understanding that there was a clock ticking. I, I can't even describe it. I can almost tell you that I can almost hear it clicking ticking in my ears. I knew that I had a limited amount of time to remain alive. And it's really crazy because even at the age of 12, we had some people that passed by that work with the power company, and they stopped to check to see if they could help with anything that was going on. And I remember my grandfather even saying, hey, just pray that the ambulance gets here. Think about that. I mean, nothing against him, but his prayer was, this is how bad healthcare back then was and transportation was in rural America. He said, pray that the ambulance can find us and that they can get here on time. And these are the real world ramifications of losing healthcare in rural America. It's being pinned in an accident and wondering how long it's going to take for the professionals to get there and to get you out and to start treating you and to save your life. It's about being in a farm accident and laying out there in the middle of that field and wondering, am I going to get the care I need, and am I going to get it in time? It's about having that heart attack in your home and having to wait for an hour for an ambulance to get there, when the people that live in the cities around you may see that ambulance arrive in 6 to 7 minutes. These are the real world ramifications of us losing this Medicaid funding. And when you're talking to people out there about what's happening, these are the types of things that you need to talk about. Yes, talk about the numbers. Yes, talk about the fact that we know who's causing this, but we need to make sure that we also talk about the real world ramifications of this. So local rural hospital closures are at the top of the list. And listen, what the federal government is expecting to have happen, and this is where I'm going to tell you to get out your back 40 notebooks and take a few notes on this. What the federal government is legitimately asking the states to do is to step in and to pick up the funding gap. Well, guys, they can't do that. They can't do that. It's too much money. And especially in the red states where we've done everything we can to eliminate the tax base out here, in my state of Missouri, they don't even take the Medicaid funds that are available in a timely manner and distribute those out to the general public. It took them forever to expand the Medicaid distribution and funds in this state. And, the bottom line is when they finally did it, it was years after the ACA passed. And there were many, many people that suffered as a result of this. Deb, I do think that these hospitals, a lot of them would be in danger of closing because of restricted funding, but nowhere near as fast, not as quickly. And now there are a lot more hospitals that are in danger as a result. So that's a great question. I think the OBBA had a double whammy. Number one, it's accelerated the rate at which these hospitals are going to close, and number two, it's increased the number of hospitals that are at risk, and that's been a direct result of the OBBA. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about are some other ramifications that are going to occur as a result of this bill as well. First of all, the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, which is overseen by the Republicans in Congress. Let me say that again. The Congressional Budget Office that is overseen by the Republicans in Congress, they say that 11.8 million Americans are in danger of losing their health care as a direct result of this bill. So I want you to think about that for a minute. I mean, that's nearly 12 million people in this country that could lose their health care beginning at the end of this year as a direct result of the cuts in this bill. And it's going to happen because a lot of different reasons, and I'm going to break those down for you in just a minute. But again, I want to go back to the individual personal ramifications of what it means to lose your health care. I can tell you guys, I've got some health issues. I talk about them openly on social media because I want you guys to be on the lookout for this. I've got fatty liver. I've got cirrhosis because of fatty liver. Nobody tells you when you're growing up that eating cheeseburgers is just as bad for you as drinking a 12-pack of beer every day. But I have fatty liver. It's led to some cirrhosis. I've also got a very aggressive form of genetic arthritis. Both of these things have to receive regular treatment. I have to have checks of my esophagus regularly to make sure that I don't have some of the ramifications and side effects that come along with fatty liver. I also have treatments that I have to do, injections, things like that for the arthritis that I've got. And I just want you to know, like, part of my peace of mind, part of the comfort that I receive in life, the reason that I don't get too worked up about my healthcare and I try to stay focused on being healthier is because I know that I've got that health insurance out there that's going to cover me in the event that I have a problem. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to pay that, but there's always a but, right? I wanted to tell you, I mentioned this on a live that I did last week. Last week, I received a call from the broker that walks me through the ACA every year, and basically what they're expecting is that my health insurance plan, which right now sits at around $1,800 a month, could almost it could go up to almost $3,400. And listen, I'm not a wealthy guy. I'm well off, but I'm not a wealthy guy. And I got to tell you that for people like me, $3,400 a month, that is a huge expenditure. I can't afford that. I can't afford to continue to get that gold level plan that helps me out with all the different issues that I've got if I'm paying that much for healthcare. So now what we're doing is we're taking a look at what can we do to take a look at some other plans that will insure me about from the worst case scenarios that may come along. And then do I pay more out of pocket for the regular treatment that I need? And in the wealthiest country on earth, where we could easily overnight, if we had the political cooperation to do so, fix this problem with healthcare in this country, we're forcing people off of healthcare. And even the Congressional Budget Office, which is primarily Republican, overseen by the Republican Party, it's nonpartisan, but the Republicans hold the administrative function of Congress right now. Even they say this is going to cost us 11.8 million in cuts. Now, there are other media sources out there that say that the impacts could be even worse. So, for instance, if you look across the board and you take a look at some of the studies that the Brennan group have done and the Brennan Center for Justice, et cetera, have done, these are what the numbers look like across the board. There could be 7.8 million uninsured from the Medicaid changes alone in the OBBBA. Okay. So there could be 7.8 million new uninsured just as a result of the bill that they just passed. All right. In addition to that, written into this bill, there are changes to the subsidies in the ACA. And just from the changes in the subsidies in ACA, another 3.1 million people could lose their coverage because of that, because it's going to price healthcare plans in the ACA out of the price range of most people in the United States. Then they made some rule changes as well, RULE. I have a hard time differentiating between rule and rural, but they made some changes to the rules, RULES, in the ACA, and that is expected to toss 900,000 people off of their health care. And here's where I want to say something positive about Joe Biden. One of the things that really aggravates me about the people on our side of the fence is that they make the argument, they try to say, well, the Democrats didn't do anything either. The Democrats didn't do anything either. They had their chance. They didn't do anything either. Well, you're about to find out the hard way that the Democrats did do something, because the program that they put in place is about to go away, and it's going to cost 4.2 million people their health insurance. And that is, when Joe Biden first came into office, he passed legislation that increased the number of subsidies, sometimes hundreds of dollars a month, sometimes thousands of dollars a month, for people that were buying their health care plans through the ACA. Okay. He passed that legislation with the support of Democrats. I'm not even sure if a single Republican in the House or the Senate voted for that legislation. I don't think they did. I was looking today and I don't think they did. But this increase in subsidy coverage expires at the end of this year in December. This legislation that Joe Biden and the Democrats were 100% responsible for passing expires at the end of this year. These credits go away, and we go back to the original credit system that we had on the ACA, and that's going to cost 4.2 million people, according to the estimates, their insurance at the end of this year. Because they're going to go in there, they're going to apply for these new healthcare plans, and they're going to be like, oh my God, why have my credits dropped so much? And the answer to that question is that guy that you said didn't do anything when he had a chance, he pulled off one of the greatest funding maneuvers in the history of the ACA for the American people, and that expires because the people that are there now don't want to see those credits continue. They don't want to see those credits continue because they want to build prisons to house undocumented workers across the country that pick our fruits and vegetables and work on our dairy farms and work on our cattle ranches. Because they want to take people off the street that came here legally to go to our schools to learn about the American way, to learn about American democracy, to make our science and our companies and our fields and our crops and our fight against diseases that impact our crops and our farms even better. They want to throw those people in jail. They want to ship them off to Louisiana. And in order to be able to do that, they have to cut these subsidies that give 4.2 million people their health insurance every year. These are the ramifications of the vote, folks. And yes, I make the point all the time that we should have been doing a better job before the last election of communicating the real world ramifications of what would happen if we were to elect this guy to a second term. We didn't do a good job of that. These are the things that we needed to be talking about, and a lot of us were. But I'm here to tell you, yeah, Deb, I couldn't have said it better myself. Shit is about to hit the fan for everyone. Buckle up. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. I mean, if you add it up, guys, we're talking 15 to 18 million people losing their healthcare insurance. We're talking about people with diabetes. We're talking about people with heart conditions. We're talking about people that have children who are severely ill and rely on it to cover the bills for these kids. We're talking about old farmers like me. You know, we're not young pups anymore. And the work that we've done over the years, it's taken a toll on our bodies. And now we're going to be in a situation where we've got to decide, you know, do we want to just have a plan that covers us if the worst case scenario happens? Or are we going to get the coverage we need to remain functional and stay on our farms and continue to do the hard work that needs to be done to feed the United States of America and the rest of the world? And I know I made the comment to my sons on election night. I said, well, I guess we're all going to have to eat out of trash cans before we understand the ramifications of the problem. And I'll tell you what, when it comes to healthcare, we're going to be close to that. And I'm not going to pull any punches. But there's good news here on the Back 40. And we're going to advertise the hell out of this here on the Back 40 on all social media, on the website. And before I tell you what that good news is, I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming event we've got in Oklahoma, because I'm really excited about it. Mr. Global is going to be joining me on the road again, okay? Mr. Global is going to be joining me on the road again, and we are going to go to Perry, Oklahoma, guys. We're going to go down to Perry, Oklahoma on Saturday, August 16th. We're going to be on the downtown square in Perry, Oklahoma. It doesn't get any more old school, real time, rural America than being on the downtown square of Perry, Oklahoma from 6:30 to 8:30 for 2 hours on Saturday, August 16th. So here's what I want to encourage you to do, okay? If you're in northeastern Oklahoma, if you are in southern Kansas, if you're in southwest Missouri, if you're in northwest Arkansas, if you're down in North Texas, no matter where you are, I want you to jump in your car and I want you to drive down to Perry, Oklahoma, and I want you to join us at this event that we're going to be putting on in Perry, Oklahoma. Guys, when we say we're going to rural America, we're not bullshitting you. We're not just talking. We're not throwing mud up against the wall and hoping that it sticks. When we say we're going to Perry, Oklahoma, and that we're going to rural America, we mean we're going to rural America. And I'll go if there are 300 people there. I'll go if there are 5 people there. But you hide and watch. We'll have a damn good crowd there. And we're all going to be proud to be part of the Back 40, and we're going to be proud to be part of rural America. Mr. Global is going to join me. He's going to be talking about energy prices going up. Guys, I'm going to bring him on to the live, I hope on Thursday, to talk about these energy prices as well, because we could see a doubling in energy prices. And I want Matt to come talk about that at the event. Then the next day on Sunday, August 17th, we're going to be in Stillwater, Oklahoma, right down the road. And we're going to be talking to, anybody of any age. Anybody can join that event as well. But we're going to be talking to some students from Oklahoma State University. And these events are starting to pour in now too, guys. These events are starting to pour in too. We've got invitations with students at Oklahoma State University, with students at Texas A&M, with students at Kansas State University. We've got University of North Colorado, and we've got the University of Missouri. We've got invites from parents at all of these schools to talk to us about what's happening in rural America and what we're going to do to fix it. And we're going to go to rural America and talk to them. By God, that's exactly what we're going to do. We need help with that. If you guys look over in the comments, Zeppo's been typing in the information about the events that we've been doing, but we also want you to help us out and encourage other people to help us out by going to our Act Blue page and donating to the Back 40 Action over there. This is our C4 that we have in place that helps us fund everything we're doing over here on the Back 40. And we're going to listen, ain't nobody getting rich over here, okay? I just want to tell you right up front, my old pickup truck that's sitting out in my driveway right now, the one that you're going to see sitting there in Perry, Oklahoma, it just crossed over 200,000 miles, guys. It just crossed over 200,000 miles. And that's the truck I'm going to be driving down to Perry, Oklahoma. So there ain't nobody getting rich here, okay? This money that we're raising to go around rural America and talk about the issues that are important to us. So we're going to ask you to do something for us. A lot of you already do. We've got some great contributors to the Back 40 in here, but I want you to think about sharing this with other people that you know, people that are worried about the loss of healthcare in rural America, people that are worried about our rural healthcare. I don't know any other way to put it, and I'm not trying to, light my hair on fire, but guys, rural healthcare is going away. There's just no other way to put it. Rural healthcare is going away, and we're headed back to a time where we have to drive for hours to get the healthcare that we need. It's already started. So if you would look at the link that Zeppo put over in the comments, the Act Blue, if you'd go over there and make a donation, but encourage other people to do the same thing, we would really, really appreciate it. And yes, to answer your questions, we're going to be getting all this information out on the website under the events section. Zeppo has worked with the team there locally in Perry, Oklahoma. They've done an amazing job to help put this event together, and we need a little bit of funding to help with that event. Perry is a small town. Listen, they've got us a hotel to stay at while we're there. They've put the events together. They just need a little bit of help with funding to finish putting the event together. We're going to go either way. If I got to sleep in the back of my pickup bed, that's what we'll do. But they just need a little bit of help with donations to help us pull it off. So, yeah, TR, we're going to go everywhere. We've got 150 requests. We're putting together an event right now. I wish Zeppo could come up on YouTube, but we're putting together an event right now in Minnesota. So we've been promising you folks up in Minnesota forever that we're going to do an event up in Minnesota. We've got it in the books. I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about that later because we need to get the date and the location finalized. But we're going to be coming up there to Minnesota to talk to our good friends in Minnesota. I'm finally going to get to meet Jill in person and all of you good folks in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Northern Iowa. I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, really looking forward to it. But the only way we're going to be able to pull all of this off is if you guys go over there to the Act Blue and make a donation for us. We've decided to start taking all of our donations through there because people are a lot more comfortable with Act Blue. The reporting is all done automatically for you, and therefore we're going to make it really easy on you. You can use different types of payments to make that happen. So we just appreciate any support that you can give us. We absolutely appreciate any support that you can give us. We've got some other events coming up here as well. How about that? Did I fix it? Are we back again? Doodle doodle do. Can you hear me again? All right, great. That's what happens when these big fat meaty paws accidentally slap the type of the microphone when I'm trying to pull something up on my phone. That's user error, guys, all on me. Okay, let me start over. On August 9th, I'm going to be at the Missouri State Fair at 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're anywhere near Sedalia, Missouri, and you can drive over, I'm going to be there from 9 to 11 o'clock. I'm going to be at the State Fair at 9 o'clock in the morning on August 9th. And I want you to come up and see me. Shake my hand. Tell me who you are. Let me know you watch us on the Back 40. Maybe get a picture, get a hug. And then I'm going to join my good friend Agricast, who's from Northern Missouri, who is a ag radio old pro up in North Missouri. He's going to join me. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. He's going to join me, and we are going to go look at a bunch of the youth livestock displays around the state fair. And you guys are more than welcome to walk around with us. Hell, we'll take a parade through the state fair. We'll call it the Back 40 Parade. And Paul, we're going to try to get out that way. We really are. We just need somebody to tell us we'll work with you to help you put an event together. But if you can come to Sedalia on August 9th, that Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll be in the Missouri Democratic Party State Fair booth at the State Fair. Really looking forward to it. Then, as soon as I get done with that, I'm going to jump into my truck, and I'm going to drive all the way down to Lafayette County, Missouri. I'm going to drive all the way down to Lafayette County, Missouri, and I'm going to attend the annual pie auction down there for the Lafayette County Democratic Party. Now, I want you to join me down there as well. Okay. I want you to join me down there there as well. Let me tell you where that one's going to be because I've got all the goods on this too. I uploaded all these flyers. See, I didn't let my hand hit it that time, guys. You should be proud of me. Anyway, I uploaded all these flyers so that I could share with you where they are. But yeah, we're going to be doing this. We're going to be doing this pie auction, and I'm pretty excited about that as well. The pie auction, guys, is used to fund the funding of rural candidates in Lafayette County and the surrounding area. So I want you to join me down there if you can. The only thing I'm going to ask you to do is, my understanding is there's going to be a guy there that makes a world-class pecan pie, and I'm going to ask you not to bid on that pie. Don't run up the cost, okay? Some of these pies, guys, they go for $300-$400. That's how great this auction is, and it raises money for rural candidates, out in the state of Missouri. And you know where my heart is there. I mean, I have focused most of my time on helping rural candidates across America with my political consulting company. And I'm looking forward to doing even more there. So just make sure you join us down in Lafayette County, Missouri, if you can, later that evening, and we'll eat some pie together. I'm going to be there, but there are going to be some other great people there as well. Ashley Allen, who's the minority leader for the Democratic Party in the state of Missouri, is going to be speaking there. We're going to have Russ Carnahan, who is the chair of the Missouri State Democratic Party. He's going to be there. So a lot of you ask questions, how can I get involved? This would be a great opportunity if you live in the surrounding area to get plugged into activism while you're there. We'll have a board up that shows you how to get involved with the Back 40. But in addition to that, there'll be a lot of local representation down there from the Democratic Party. And, you can get plugged in. Yeah, Gladys, we'd love to come. They don't have to be farmers. Sometimes we have a lot of farmers that show up. Sometimes we only have a few. Remember, we're out here plugging for rural America. Farmers only make up 16% of rural America, believe it or not. They make up 60% of the GDP, but they only make up 16% of the overall population. So we'll show up for teachers. We'll show up for moms and dads. We'll show up for construction workers. We'll show up for immigrants working out in the fields. Whatever we need to do to show up, we'll show up. And we'll talk to anybody that shows up there with us. So if you can show up at these events, guys, we'd really appreciate it. Just remember the next big event, Saturday, August 16th at 6:30 in Perry, Oklahoma. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, guys. There are a lot of things happening out there in regard to the upcoming election, and I want to spend some time tonight. Well, thank you, Paul. I appreciate that. I think those two things go together. But I appreciate the sentiment there. You're absolutely right about that. I want to talk about the strategy that the Republican Party is going to take in the next election, guys. They see the writing on the wall. What do I mean by that? Okay. What do I mean by the fact that they see the writing on the wall? They see the polling. We talk about this every time we do a live. We talk about the fact that the president is tanking and taking in every single public opinion poll out there. Even the ones that typically lean Republican show him underwater in every major category, even in the categories that he was doing well in before, like the border and immigration. Okay. All of the categories are underwater now. Just in rural America alone, there are parts of the country in rural America where he has lost up to 9% of his support. Up to 9% of his support. He's lost in some parts of rural America because of the horrible policy initiatives that he's implementing. So they see the writing on the wall. If you look at the early polling, there is a big swing in the House of Representatives toward the Democratic Party. Things are looking really good there. We can't sit on our butts. We have to work hard. We have to make sure we do everything that needs to be done to win, but it looks really good. And they see that. They see the writing on the wall. So what is the Trump administration? What do the Republicans do right now? And guys, listen, I try to take a nonpartisan approach from this when we're talking about fixing the problems in rural America. And I hope there comes a day again when we're just talking about the policy differences between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. I hope there comes a day when that's all we're talking about, when voting for a Republican candidate in a primary is a viable option for us because they believe in good rural policy. But right now, we just can't sweep it under the rug. We have to talk about where the bad policy is coming from. And right now, it's coming from one side of the aisle. Okay? It's coming from one side of the aisle. The tariffs are not Democratic policy. The cuts to Medicaid are not Democratic policy. The cuts to ACA subsidies are not Democratic policy. The rounding up of people in this country who are here to work in our rural areas to pick our food that we survive off of, rounding them up even though they're not criminals, that is not Democratic policy. Those policies rest with one party. And because of that, we have to talk about the party that's in charge of those policies. So they see the writing on the wall. They see the right. Brooke, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. So stay tuned because that's the second approach. Okay. They see the writing on the wall. They see the polling going in the direction that it has. And look, guys, the bottom line is this. We've already had a couple of special elections in different areas around the country. Look at those congressional races down in Florida where the typical Democratic loss was 30% or even a little more. And the Democrats closed the gap by 15%. They closed the gap by 15%. I want you to think about that. What is that going to mean in the long haul? Hang on, guys. Throat's getting a little bit dry. I've been doing a lot of talking tonight. What's that going to mean for them when they're in these closer districts? We've got districts. I think we've got 6 districts around the country that were decided by less than 1%. Okay. Less than 1%. So imagine taking that track record from the elections that have been held so far. Hell, we even had one race where the Republican had won by over 25% and the Democrats won the race since President Trump went into office. That's because of all of these bad policies. It's because farm bankruptcies are doubled since the beginning of the year. I'll try to do that, Kim, before we end tonight. All of these things are taking a toll on the election outcome, I guess would be the best word to use, on the election outcome possibilities for the Republican Party. So they're going to do 2 things. They're going to do 2 things. They're going to do the same thing that they've been doing for the last 10 years, which is continue to really push hard on legal voter suppression. Now, why am I doing the quotation marks? Why am I talking about legal voter suppression? Because we've already had 2 studies that have come out so far that show us that in the last election cycle, there's a really strong likelihood that legal voter suppression made the difference in that election. There were as many as 12.1 million voters that didn't show up, either because they were kicked out of the voting systems because of the fact that there were claims made that they hadn't voted in a long time. They were kicked out in error. They had new voter registration requirements that are placed on them that they weren't able to meet. There were ballots that were turned in that had little clerical errors on the ballots that were recently put into law that caused those ballots to be thrown out. And the net result is that the studies that have been done show that there were about 12.1 million overall voters whose vote didn't count. And it was legally done. It was not illegal. It was legally done because they took advantage of the majority that they have in state legislatures around the country and in local governments to get these laws passed. And because of that, they have made the realization, they have figured out that this is a winning strategy for them. So they're going to continue it. I want to encourage all of you, if you haven't done so, I want to encourage you to go to democracydocket.com. democracydocket.com. I want to encourage you to go there, and I want you to take a look at, because it breaks it down state by state. I want you to take a look at that because it breaks it down state by state. It's going to show you everything the Republicans are doing in each individual state to try to suppress the vote legally. Okay? So go to democracydocket.com. It's democracy, DOCKET.com. This is the website and the organization put together by Mark Elias. They're filing lawsuits all over the country to push back against all of these things that the Republicans are doing. You're welcome, Pickle. And democracydocket.com is leading the fight there. It will break down for you. It'll show you in your state exactly what the Republicans are doing to try to legally suppress the vote. And it will give you some options there on how to support them in their lawsuits in those states to prevent it from happening. Who you can write, who you can call, where you can protest, those kinds of things. It's really, really important that we take advantage of the organizations that are already out there that are going to fight this fight with us. And Democracy Docket is one of those great organizations out there already fighting the good fight. So that's the first thing that they're going to do. Okay? That's the first thing that they're going to do. Yeah, he did, Carol. Absolutely. I appreciate you pointing that out. Mark Elias was intrinsic. He was intrinsic to the success that you guys experienced in SCOTUS, the SCOTUS race in the state of Wisconsin. So I really appreciate you calling that out. The second thing that they're going to do, and I'm sure that you've seen this or heard about it in relationship to what's happening down in Texas, but they are going to try to do redistricting, a mid-election redistricting, in order to get more red congressional districts around the country. Now, what do I mean by that? Typically, the way it's worked in the past is the census comes out every 10 years. So there was a census in 2000. There was a census in 2010. There was a census in 2020. There will be another census in 2030. But after the 2020 census, and typically after each census, once we know how many congressional districts each state has been allocated, we go in and we draw up new congressional districts in each state. And typically what happens is there are a handful of states, some of them are blue, most of them are red, where they gerrymander these districts. Let me give you an example. In my state of Missouri, in the congressional races, the Republicans won about 54% of the vote overall if you dump all the votes in together, and the Democrats won about 46 to 48% if you dump all the votes in together. What that means is out of the 8 congressional districts in our state, okay, it should either be 7-3 or 6-4. Okay, 7-3 or 6-4. Worst case scenario should be 7-3, but most people agree that based on the number of registered Democratic voters versus Republican, and based on the election results in our state for the last several election cycles, we should probably have at least 3 Democratic representatives in the state of Missouri. We've only got 2. And their districts are very heavily weighted with Democrats. There's one in St. Louis that leans 26% Democrat. There's one in Kansas City that leans 16% Democrat. And what that means is that when they drew up the districts, they dumped a whole lot of Democrats into those 2 congressional districts. And then they took the other districts in the state and they cut those into blue areas to grab up a bunch of Democrats, and then took in wide swaths of rural Missouri to overwhelm that blue Democrat result in those cities with overwhelmingly red Republican voters in the rural red areas of my state. And what that's resulted in is we've got one almost competitive district, but that's still a +6 to +8 Republican district. In the redistricting that happened the last time, it's +4, and we're going to run some good candidates there, and I think we have a shot at it this year. But what they're trying to do is the White House reached out to my state of Missouri last week. They talked to the governor of the state, or maybe the article I read said that he hadn't called him back yet. But they're trying to make it so that we write off one of those, redistrict or gerrymander that congressional district, the 5th congressional district up in Kansas City. They're trying to gerrymander now so that we only have one Democratic district in St. Louis, Missouri. The one in Kansas City that is currently served by a Democratic congressman who's been there for quite some time, well loved in that area, Manuel Cleaver. They want to write that district out of existence, or they want to gerrymander in such a way that it becomes so twisted up and convoluted that red rural parts of Missouri would overwhelm that blue city. They're looking at doing this in Texas. They're looking at doing this in Missouri. And the last article I read, which is a little bit earlier today, is that there are 3 other states where they're taking a look. Unfortunately, I couldn't find anywhere where it cited those actual states, where it said what the names of those states were. So my guess is this is somebody inside the Republican Party spilling the beans, but they didn't want to go so far as naming the states because that probably would have made it clear to the other folks that work with them who exactly was spilling the beans. Why are they doing this? Well, the reason they're doing this is because there's one competitive congressional district in the state of Missouri right now. And we're going to pour everything we've got into the state of Missouri into winning that congressional race. Well, think about it. Okay. Think about it. If you eliminate that district, if you're able to eliminate one of the congressional districts in the state of Missouri, if you're able to get rid of that, then what you're going to find is that now, even if you win that competitive district, if they don't write it out of existence, even if you win that competitive district, you're still just going to be at 2. It makes sense? You get rid of the non-competitive Democratic district, you make it a very competitive or lean Republican, and then even if you win that 2nd district, which is very competitive, you're still only going to be at 2, which is where you started. I couldn't agree more, Tiff. That's where you started. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so that there are a lot more red congressional districts on the playing field so that the Democrats have a much more difficult time closing the gap, because it looks right now like the Democrats are going to easily close that gap and take back the House. So they want to change. They want to change the plan. They want to change the plan. So anyway, that's what they're going to try to do. Now, there's a way to push back against this as well, and it requires hard work and good trouble. Okay. I've been encouraging people here in my state of Missouri, and I know Sandra and other people like her that support the back 40 are going to jump all over this. Hey, Pokey, welcome. We've got to push back against this. We've got to do the same thing we always do. We've got to make those telephone calls. We've got to send those emails, but we've got to show up at protests. We need to have a protest in the state of Missouri that's protesting specifically the concept of redistricting in the middle of a decade to make it so that the Republicans have a better chance to win the elections in Congress. We've got to protest that. We've got to protest that. We need to donate to groups like the Back 40 and to groups like Democracy Docket that are pushing back against this type of thing. You know, I've been telling people a lot lately, like, you know, I drink coffee every morning. Used to, when I worked in the corporate world, I went through a local coffee shop and I bought that, you know, caramel, maca, lodo, hobby, whatever it was called, every single day. It was $8. You know, maybe it's time we sit down a couple of those, you know, those fancy coffees, and we take that $16 and we donate it to the Back 40 and to Democracy Docket to push back against all of this. If you want to support us here at the Back 40 and these events that we're doing to push back, take a look in the comments. Zeppo just put our Act Blue in there. You can click on that link and you can go donate today. That's great, Sandra. I love what you guys are doing down in Ava. Talk to me about when you're going to be doing that again, and I'm going to try to get down there to join you guys, okay? I've had family down there for years. It's been a long time since I visited. I'll come down there and I'll join you for one of these protests. You just let me know. But we've got to push back against these draconian efforts, because seeing the writing on the wall, knowing that they're struggling, knowing that they're going to have a hard time, they're going to try to change the rules like they always do. They're going to try to change the rules to the game. They're going to try to move the goalposts. Gladys, that is incredible. That is incredible. That's great. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about agriculture before we end up here. One thing I want to tell you is I listen to a lot of podcasts on agriculture. I basically spend my entire day, even when I'm sitting here at the computer, working on lives, talking to people around the country, I'm listening to these podcasts from all over rural America. Some lean left, some lean right, some walk right down the middle. And I can tell you, people are really scared. People are really scared about the impact these policies are going to have on farming. The tariffs, guys, have created a marketplace where we have lost billions of dollars in sales. We have lost billions of dollars in agricultural sales. And here's the group that I want to tell you is going to be impacted. When I say we, I don't just mean the administration. I mean the USDA. I mean farmers themselves. We've been pushing for a long time. We've been pushing for a long time that if you want to be successful in farming, you've got to grow. You've got to become really big. You've got to buy more pasture land. You have to buy more cattle. You've got to buy more row crop land. You have to raise more corn. You have to raise more soybeans. This is a concept we've been pushing for a long time. So we've been doing that. We've been doing that. We've been getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Small farmers like me that do specialty farming, it's the exception to the rule. We need a lot more farmers like me, because young people can get involved in that kind of farming. It doesn't rely on subsidies. It doesn't rely on, but it's hard work. It relies on marketing. It relies on intense farming. But we've been growing this idea. We've been growing this idea that you have to become bigger in order to farm. Now, how do you grow? Well, if you're really super lucky, maybe you come from a family of means. Maybe you have a farming family that's 5 generations in and they're very well off. They have a lot of land. They've got a lot of money in the bank, but those situations are few and far between. A lot of people right now that have become large farmers are on the pathway to, I appreciate that, Deb, or on the pathway to becoming large farmers. They do it the same way people do when they want to grow their business. They borrow money. We call that leverage in the farming industry. I think we call it that in every industry, but in the farming industry, we call that being leveraged. And there are multiple different types of loans that you can get when you farm. Okay. There are multiple different types of loans you can get. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're raising cattle and you're growing corn and soybeans. You could have an operating loan. This is the loan that you use to buy seed with, you buy fertilizer with, you buy fungicide with, you buy pesticides with, you buy your fuel with it. All of these different things. This could be an operating loan that you've got. And what you do is you draw against that credit. And then when you harvest your crops, you pay that loan back. You might have an equipment loan. If you are a farmer right now and you're growing the number of cattle that you're raising, you have to buy more fencing. You have to buy the products that you need for rotational grazing if you want to do it effectively. You have to grow your corral system. You might need a bigger pickup with a larger trailer that pulls more weight. There are equipment loans out there. If you do row crops, you may have to buy a new combine. You may have to buy new equipment to spread that fertilizer, to spread those fungicides, to spread those pesticides. All of these things, lead to leverage. Okay. Now, if you're raising cattle on top of that, you might also have a cattle loan. The cattle business is really good right now. So you've got people out there that have gone out and they've borrowed money to buy more cattle. Usually they've either gone out there to do one of two things. They've gone out there to buy mama cows that are pregnant so they can bring them back to the farm, have those cows, raise them up to around 600 pounds and sell them. Or they've gone out there and they've bought some of those 600-pound calves themselves, and they're raising them up to where it's time for them to go to a feedlot, and they're reselling them for the profit and the difference in weight. But they borrowed money to buy those cattle. So we've got situations out there where there are some of these large farms that are leveraged all three ways. They have an operating loan, they have an equipment loan, and they have a cattle loan. But if you are leveraged to the hilt, even if you've only got one of the three and you have a lot of credit on that leverage, you're going to be in serious, serious danger if everything doesn't work out perfectly between now and the end of the year when this new crop comes in and we harvest. You got it, Rita. What do I mean? Well, we've got what looks like to be one of the largest crops we've had in our history because this hot, humid weather that we've got out there, if you stay on top of your fungicide application, this is going to lead to possibly one of the largest corn crops we've ever seen in the history of our country. So we're going to have a glutted market. The problem with that is you have a lot of negative things happening out there as well. The Chinese are not going to buy as much corn because they're buying it from Brazil now. Donald Trump just pressured Coca-Cola into getting rid of using high fructose corn syrup in their soft drinks, and now they're going to go to straight sugar. That's going to be bad for corn. Most people that raise corn, most people in the ethanol business basically say that we've reached the cap on what we can produce for ethanol. Not as many people are using it. There's not a demand for it as there used to be. So therefore, the demand for ethanol is dropping. So the need for dent corn to make that ethanol is dropping. That's on top of the tariffs. That's on top of the changes to the need for high fructose corn syrup. And what that's caused to happen is the break even on corn right now per bushel, what you need to sell your corn for in order to break even, is about $4.18 to $4.24 a bushel. Now, that's according to Purdue University. Some people will make the argument over here where we market a lot of our corn directly in Iowa, places like that, that the break even's, around $3.89. Either way, let's just say it's $3.89 up to $4.23. Corn is dropping down to below break even. It goes above, it goes below, it goes above, it goes below. Even when it goes above, guys, break even is just break even. That's the ability to pay off the cost of putting the corn in the ground. That doesn't include paying off these other notes that you took out. That's just the break even cost of putting that corn in the ground. And we're facing a situation at the end of the harvest season this year where if we're below break even, all those guys that are leveraged on equipment and on these loans for operating expenses, they could go under. And again, I'm not a sky is falling kind of guy, but if you listen to these podcasts with these agricultural experts on here, they're saying it could be as bad or worse as the farm crisis of the 1980s. And it'll be the leveraged farms that suffer the most, just like it was back then. Just like it was back then. Those of you that live up in Iowa and some of those hog producing states, you know, we experienced something like this in the 90s when we allowed big foreign competitors to dump hogs onto the US market. And these big hog farming operations across the country just dried up and disappeared. The family farms, the family hog farms, dried up and disappeared. So, yes, same thing can happening to bourbon and whiskey. So the net result is we have a lot of people that are leveraged right now because over the last 5-10 years, they bought into this idea that you need to continue to make your farm bigger and bigger in order to survive. They're leveraged to the hilt. Same thing in the cattle market. Eventually, the cattle market will go down, and these folks are going to be in trouble. And don't take my word for it. I mean, I'm not a row crop guy, but I can tell you, I talk to row crop people all the time. It's what I do now. It's my full-time job. I talk to the experts, I listen to the podcasts, and I can tell you that there is a storm brewing out there if everything doesn't go exactly right. Let me tell you what everything means. It means that the weather remains good. It means that maybe we get a little bit of a drop in interest rates. It means that something happens on the tariff front so that China starts buying more row crops than they have been for the last couple of years, and especially since Trump came into office. Those are the everything has to work all right scenarios. And guys, looking at those scenarios right now, there aren't any of them that look really rosy. None of them look really rosy. And the problem is, and bingo, this will kind of speak to a couple of the posts that you made there. The problem is the majority of the corn that's made in this country is not edible. It's not sweet corn. The majority of the corn that's raised in this country is called dent corn, and it's used for high fructose corn syrup. It goes through that process and then it becomes edible. It's used for fuel and it's used for animal feed. Those are the primary reasons behind it. So there's just nothing you can do from a marketing perspective to, you can't put dent corn on the table. Good luck if you do. You're not going to like it. It's not going to have the nutritional value. You're just not going to eat dent corn. Okay. So that's part of the issue. That's part of the issue. And the bottom line is things are looking really, really rough for a lot of these row crop farmers out there. And they're already reaching out. Guys, we have got people from all over the country reaching out to the Back 40 because they know that we're advocating for them here. So I want to remind you once again, I mean, we've got 2 invites from Iowa right now. They know what's about ready to happen. They're scared. And we talk about it time and time again. When they see the writing on the wall and they figure out that they were lied to and they come back to us and say, we want to join you in fighting the good fight, we have to have this much grace to allow them to do that. And the only way we can do that, the only way we can go to where they are, the only way we can get to Washington, D.C. to lobby and to advocate and to educate is with the help of donations. So I really do want to encourage you, if you know anybody that would appreciate what we're doing here on the Back 40, direct them our way, send them to our Act Blue. I'm going to tell you something else I did, and I never would have had this conversation just a few months ago, but everybody knows somebody wealthy, okay? I will tell you, I have reached out to every one of my wealthy friends and I've said, guys, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. I'm not calling them asking for money for my light bill. I'm not calling and asking them for money to, go buy a cheeseburger down at the local fast food place. I'm asking them to help me save rural America and to help you in the Back 40 save rural America. If you know somebody that likes to give to organizations that are out there fighting the good fight, direct them our way, because that's what we're doing here at the Back 40. We've got an Act Blue up. If you just go to Act Blue and search out the Back 40 Action, ACTION, if you scroll up in the messages here on the comments, you'll see the website. Just go in there, tell them to make a donation. Tell them to reach out to us if they want to make a large donation. We'd really appreciate it. So a lot going on. A lot going on. Let me answer some of your question, guys. You've been really, really patient tonight, and I really, really appreciate it. I threw a lot at you tonight, but I think we've got to be really, really upfront and honest about letting people know what's going to happen with healthcare. And we've got to put it in human terms that they can understand what it's going to mean for injured people, for sick people, whenever they go to get that healthcare that they need, or they go to get in that ambulance to get to the hospital, and it takes an hour and a half to get there. We've got to put it in those stark terms so that they understand. So that they understand. Tell me what questions you guys have. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got. We're going to do it on YouTube tonight here. I know we've got our folks working with TikTok right now to try to fix the problem over there. It's just frustrating, guys, and I let that show a little bit tonight. I apologize, but what we're doing is so important. It is so important, and we've just got to keep fighting. So, any questions? Ask away if you have them. Why didn't the Hague keep our? Yeah, I love the question, Gladys. And my question is, if it's a matter of money, if you just need us to help pay for the place to keep them, let us know. How do you break through the Republican voter generational I'll tell you what we've been doing, Dust Bunny. We've just been going out and talking with them. I mean, that's the key. We're showing up. I've spoken in front of cattlemen's associations that I know were primarily Republican, and we've just got to show up. And what I do when I go out there, I've got a couple of different versions of the speech I give when I'm talking at a Democratic Party event. Sure, I toss some red meat out there. The Republicans do the same thing. I don't try to hide the fact. That I'm out there representing myself as a Democrat, and that I believe that the Democratic Party best represents rural America right now. But I also want them to know I'm here for you too. And I think I've proven that since I've been on social media. I've been willing to talk to anybody on the Republican side of the aisle, even people that have voted for Donald Trump. If they truly want to come learn more about what's happening and why these policies that they've been supporting have been bad for rural America, not only am I willing to educate them on that, but I'm willing to allow them to work with us to make it better. So we go to where they are, and we do get on their platforms. For those of you that don't know, I've been on News Nation 6 times now. News Nation has me come on all the time to talk about rural issues. And I will tell you, to their credit, they never censor a single thing I say. They never censor a single thing I say. News Nation has me come on there regularly to talk about rural and farming issues, and they never censor anything I have to say. And I criticize Trump's policies on there. I do it on a regular basis, and they let me. Do you have any intention? Yeah, I am. We do that now. Healthcare is already hard hit by professional. Yeah. It's going to be tough. I think what you're going to see, Rita, just in talking with these healthcare organizations that I do, one of them being the National Rural Healthcare Association, I think you're going to see state governments and private entities, the hospitals themselves, try to step up where they can to offer financial assistance to these students, even over the next 3.5 years. I think after that, if we can get somebody back in the White House and in the House and Senate that supports rural America, we're going to fix these problems. And boy, is that going to be a doozy to fix them. But I think in the meantime, it's going to have to be private entities that step up. And that's sad because they're only going to be able to provide a pittance of the funding that's needed to get folks the educational dollars that they need to become nurses and doctors. What do you think can be done about that Brazilian meat packer that was just added to the stock market? Not a damn thing right now. And I think that's going to be really, really bad for America because they're going to do what every other publicly traded company does. They're going to make decisions that are good only for the shareholders. And they're not going to give a damn about how high prices go. Look, they're doing it right now. If you've gone out there, I don't know how you did you go to the grocery store over the 4th of July and buy steak? Chicken and pork, their numbers are going up a lot right now because it's a less pricey alternative. But yeah, there's not anything that can be done right now. There's really not, unfortunately. Don, that's changing. Don asked the question, why are farmers primarily Republican? I don't understand. I do understand. Let me tell you why. It's because for 35 to 40 years, the Republican Party and right-wing conservative talk radio and television has waged an unceasing, never-ending war on the hearts and minds of rural America, and the Democratic Party, for the most part, stood by and watched it happen. Lifelong Democrat, will never, ever deny the fact that I'm a Democrat, have worked hard in the Democratic Party for over 30 years. But the bottom line is the Democratic Party watched that happen. And I'm guilty of that at certain times. Things would happen, and I would look at these things and say, that's crazy. Nobody's going to believe that. And then they did. And then they did. And the really scary thing is, Don, is it could take us, that long to win them back again. It could take them that long for us to win them back again. And we've got to be in it for the long haul. We have got to be in it for the long haul. We've got to be willing to fight that fight. We've got to be willing to fight that fight. Yes, we are on Blue Sky. We're on Blue Sky under Westmoreland Pops. If you look us up, we're on there. Our followers, we've got quite a few followers on there, and it's growing every day, and I try to post there regularly. Yeah, propaganda does work, Bubba. It absolutely does. I sure can. Let me recommunicate the event dates before we jump off of here. First of all, we're going to be in Perry, Oklahoma on Saturday, August 16th. We're going to be there from 6 to 8. And then right after that, 6:30 to 8:30, Perry, Oklahoma, Saturday, August 16th from 6:30 to 8:30. The very next day, on Sunday, August 17th, we're going to be in Stillwater at the Stillwater Community Center. We're going to be there at 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. So come out and join us, guys. We'd love to have you there. We would love to have you there. On August 9th, I'm going to be at the Missouri State Fair at the Democratic Party booth at 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock in the morning, the Missouri State Fair, Sedalia, Missouri, in the Democratic Party booth. I'll be there. I'm going to be there from 9 to 11, and then I'm going to go around with my good friend Agricast from up in northern Missouri. We're going to check out some of the youth livestock exhibitions, and then I'm going to jump in the truck, and I'm going to drive all the way down to Lafayette County, Missouri, and I'm going to attend their annual Democratic Pie Auction fundraiser. The chair of the Missouri Democratic Party, the minority leader for the state of Missouri, and several other people are going to be there as well. So if you've got time on August 9th and you can be at either one of those places, I would encourage you to be there. It's going to be hotter than two cats, let's say, wrestling in a wool sock. I'll clean it up a little bit for you. It's going to be hotter than two rats wrestling in a wool sock. All right, guys, listen, pardon my anger at the beginning. I'm just really tired of the stifling of voices on social media. What we're talking about in rural America is critically important. We have to be able to get our voices out, because if we can compete against the other voices that are out there, we'll win. So I apologize. I lost my temper a little bit, but we came over here to YouTube and we pulled it off. Remember the events, and remember that you can donate to us through Act Blue. We need it. And Sandra, we need to do exactly what you did. You reached out to the Democratic Party here in the state of Missouri and you said, support the Back 40. And I want everybody to know the Democratic Party here in Missouri is supporting the Back 40. They're battling for us at the national level to get funds. They're doing everything they can to help put us in touch with people that can possibly help fund the Back 40. So I'm really happy with what's happening here in the state of Missouri. Our Democratic Party chair, Rush Carnahan, and Matthew and Chelsea and the people that work there, they really fight hard for the Back 40. They really, really do. They listen to you. I told them I'd reach out to you. They actually called me, Sandra, and said, hey, we want to make sure we get back to Sandra. And I said, Sandra is a friend of the Back 40. I'm glad she sent this email, and I'll reach out to her and let her know you guys are helping us. And they are. And what you did, just let them understand how important it was to keep trying. So, yeah, the DNC likes us a lot. They're just off to a slow start, so let's all put some pressure on them. Okay, guys, listen. I want all of you to have a great night. We're going to come back up on Thursday from 6 to 8. My hope is we'll be on both platforms that night. We'll see what happens between now and then. Listen, I say it every time I come on here. The Back 40 would be nothing, and Will Westmoreland would be nothing without the support of everyone that comes onto these lives. You can't be a leader if nobody's following. I just to be a guy taking a walk, and I want you to know how much I appreciate the fact that you all support the Back 40 and you do everything you can to help us get the hard work done. We'll post those out on the website and in the all the social media sites as well, Sandra. You guys have a great night. It was great to talk to you tonight. Keep fighting the good fight. Rest and lean on each other. Make sure you support one another. Drink a lot of water. Stay cool. And don't let the bed bugs bite. See you guys.